Hi there, my name is Jill and I use poker in VR to learn how to play poker. The money is fake, but the emotions are real. Let's get on with the hands. Alright, welcome back to the vlog. This is episode number, 4, except I'm calling it 3B. And we're going to start this one where 3A ended. And it's basically because when I looked at this material, I looked at my own play and my own hands. It looked like I was doing great. I was winning some big pots, but the numbers at the end really didn't add up. And when I, was honest and asked myself and thought for just a moment, I realized, of course, I had cut out all of the hands where I played extra poorly and lost money. So this video is going to be about those. I'm dubbing this episode 3B, the hands that went bad. And I essentially went back to the same footage that I used in episode 3A, and I just went through the hands where I lost money, where I made extra poor decisions compared to the ones that I did in 3A, where I, made some good decisions and some bad decisions. But first, before I jump into that, I'd like to do some shout out to some real cash money poker vloggers that I'm following, that I've started following with my new channel. And each one of these people has been kind enough to respond to my comments and answer my questions when I post on their videos. And I've gotten some subscribers. I know I've got fake cash money poker, which is a little bit different, quite a bit different, but I really appreciate and I'm really inspired by these poker vloggers, and it's you guys that I'm stealing little bits of tips and tricks from and learning a lot from. Thank you so much. So here we go into episode 3B, the hands that went bad. But before I dive into that, if you're new to the channel, as most people are, because my channel is new, I play VR poker, which is fake money poker. If you play on a tablet or if you play in VR, you play with fake money, you know that they give you a lot of chips and it's unrealistic money. So what I decided for myself, I made a little chart for myself here where I kind of break down how much the money is, the fake money poker, how much that would translate to in cash. This has nothing to do with if you purchase chips in game or anything like that. I'm just trying to translate it for myself so that as I'm learning poker, I can keep realistic understandings of money so that when I go and play live, I'm not kind of all pie in the sky. The numbers still are off, but this is a very rough estimation that I put together. So you can see here that when I say that I had a 45-minute session and I went up 12.5K, well, really that's like about $6. So I'm on a micro stakes or a low stakes table. I'm really not earning a lot of chips. And of course, these is fake money anyway. If you're interested in more information about how I came up with these numbers and other ways that I kind of translate the virtual reality cash environment to the real world, just for my own understanding, there's a video in the description and I dive more into that. So let's get into the hand now. This spot that I have the screenshot here is a spot in episode 3A where it was right after I had just won the full house with the family pot, and I'm on a table where you buy in for 5,000 chips. So I've got 4 times the number of chips that you can buy in with. So I've got like 400 big blinds because this game has you buy in at 100 big blinds. So I'm pretty deep stacked, and that affects my ability to make proper decisions. But also, it is a time that I can experiment a little bit more. And I'd love to hear in the comments below how you use a little bit of extra money to learn and practice. Because kind of, I could say that was what I was doing. Okay, so the first hand here, we're on an 8 max table, but it never really fills up to a full 8 number of people. I'm used to playing on a 6 max table on a different VR game, and so this was pretty comfortable. I didn't feel like I had too many opponents, and I was pretty comfortable this entire session. But I just won a big pot. Now I'm deep stacked, and I've got a pair of 4s, and I'm on the low jack, which I'm just learning about all these kind of things, position and how it affects things. And in VR, it does kind of make a difference. People don't pay attention as much. So the under the gun and the hijack just limp in, I guess I should say, instead of calling. But I decide, look at the raise first in charts for low jack, and pair of fours is right at the very bottom end of it. So I decided I'm going to raise, but first mistake, I raised too much. The big blind is 50. Raising to 500 is great if I have a strong hand and I'm really trying to isolate somebody and get some people to fold. It doesn't necessarily get people to fold. It might not be too high or high enough, but it was too high for the hand that I had. My hand is not very strong, and 500 really is not a good bet. Now, the cutoff and the button, it seems like they were playing together. They're actually right behind the image here. They both left with the pre-flop bet. There are some people in VR where it's social and stuff, they don't like pre-flop betting, so if you do it a couple of times, they'll leave the table. They indicated that they didn't like it before, and then so I pre-flop bet, and they left the table. But the small blind calls, and the big blind folds, and the under the gun and the hijack both call. So we've got 4 people still on the table to go to the flop. The flop is rainbow, 6, 10, queen. Not great for me. So I decide, since it's not my turn yet, that the small blind, the under the gun, and the hijack all check. And I decide to check as well. The turn comes in, it's the 2 of hearts. Again, absolutely nothing. Small blind, under the gun, and hijack check again. Perhaps I could have bet here considering there was check, check. But I decided to check back. The river comes up, it's the 5 of clubs. I have, what, 4th pair, 5th pair? Ugh. So the small blind checks, but then the under the gun bets 2,600. Hijack, myself, and the small blind folds, and the under the gun takes down to the pot of 2K plus their overbet, completely uncontested. No idea if they bluffed it or if they got a straight or what. But now I'm down 500 bucks. All right, so let's go to the next hand. And we have King Jack suited. Now I remind you, as you're looking at this wonderful pocket cards here, this video is not about me winning. So under the gun, I'm on the hijack. Under the gun starts betting with $125. Myself on the hijack, I call. The button calls. The small blind, who's already put their small blind in, leaves the table, and the big blind calls. We go 4 ways to a flop. The flop is 10, 5, 4 rainbow. Okay, I have a backdoor straight draw, a backdoor flush draw, and overcards. The action checks around. The turn card comes up, and it is a queen of spades. Now I have a open-ended straight draw. So when the big blind bets for 500 and the under the gun folds, of course I have to call, but also the button calls. The river comes out, and it's a 5 of clubs. Complete brick. I don't get my straight. I don't have anything. Big blind bets for 2,000. I get out of the way, and so does the button. So the big blind takes down the pot of $2,000 plus overbet, uncontested, and we have no idea what cards they had. I'm down another $625. Total so far, $1,125. All right, next hand, we've got somebody new who's joined the table. So we have 4 people in the hand. and I've got 7-5 suited. I'm on the small blind, so when under the gun and the button check or limp to me, then I limp in and the big blind checks. The flop comes out Jack, King of Diamonds, and 4 of Spades. So it looks kind of good. I've got this flush draw, although I've got low flush cards, which are, can be kind of dangerous. It's not too bad. But still, I've seen this not work out for me in the past. So I check, the big blind checks, under gun checks, and the button bets 150. So everybody calls. The turn is Jack of Hearts. So now we've got a pair of jacks on the board. Doesn't help me at all. So I check, big blind checks, under the gun checks, but then the button bets again for 500. I call, big blind calls, but under the gun gets out of the way and folds. The river comes up, and it is a queen of clubs. So I don't make my flush, and I really don't have anything. So I get out of the way, knowing what's coming. The big blind bets 1,400 or so, and the button calls, so we actually get to see what cards the big blind had. And with showdown, big blind wins with trip jacks. So I'm down another 700 bucks. Boo. Total so far, 1825 down. So of course, in between these, I am winning some pots, but this is actually a pretty good little tiny downswing in the little 45 minutes, right? I got up to 21K, and then I kind of slowly dwindled it to less. So let's look at the next hand, and this is this was the most painful one. Pocket jacks. How many times have you had pocket jacks and it not work out? Many, many times. But that's okay. We still like them, though. Still got to play them, right? So the under the gun limps in, and the button leaves the game entirely, and the small blind folds. So I've got a pair of jacks pre-flop, so I raise the bet to 450. The under the gun calls, and we're going 2 ways to a flop. So far, so good. The flop comes of 8-2-3 rainbow. So I look at that and I see that somebody could have a straight draw, but there's no flush draw on the board. They'd have to have pretty weak cards even to play into that. And certainly my overpair is pretty nice. So I bet big. I've seen in places like this where if I bet too small and let them call, then they'll get their card on the river or something like that. So at this point, I've got an overpair, and I want to bet big and try to get the guy to fold. He thinks for a bit, and ultimately he decides to go all in for 4,500. And of course, I can't fold my overpair. I can't fold on this board. So I call for an additional 2,000, and we go to a showdown. We run it once. The turn is 5 of spades. Does nothing for me, but it actually improves my odds. Like this game shows what your percentage is to win. It shifted my percentage up, so I was more than 2/3 to win. And then the river came out, and it was 6 of diamonds, and my opponent makes victory motions, and it shows he's got 4 of clubs, 5 of clubs for the straight. He takes down the pot of just under 10,000 chips. So he takes 5,000 out of my stack, and now I've just finished torching over 6,000 chips just in a few hands. So while my net was plus 12K, I could have actually had a lot more, but because of poor decision making, and also, got rivered. I ended up torturing a lot more of what I could have put away. And there we are. We're at the end of this episode, episode 3B, the hands that went bad in 3A. In future videos, I will try to be a little bit more balanced so that I show my bad hands where I really made not so good decisions, as well as the hands where I felt I did well, even though there's things to learn in both situations. And I'd really love it if you have any comments or thoughts about any of my hands or any of my videos. Leave comments below, subscribe, share, whatever you'd like to. Have a great day.